Welcome back, guys. I know it has been a long time since I have posted a video, but we had quite a bit of things going on in my family, some hard times. My dad passed away a little over a month ago, so we've been dealing with all that, and I just haven't had time, haven't had the chance to do anything, but I wanted to get on. I was thinking about something the other night, and I wanted to post a video about that. One of the things when you're learning how to food forest and all that stuff, you'll hear a lot of people say is you can't grow fruit trees from seed. It won't, it'll take, 10, 15 years to get any fruit, and then it won't be as good as the tree that you got it from, and it just, you can't do that. It's not, you need to get a grafted tree and plant it. Well, I pose that is incorrect, and there are a lot of trees that you could grow any tree from seed. Yes, there are some fruits that take a lot longer to produce than others, but it's more on how you care for the tree in its early stages than it is anything else. But there are fruits that take longer to produce from growing from a seed. And yes, you do run the risk of, sorry for this weird shadow, but the sun's right in my face. You do run the risk of, when you plant a fruit tree from a seed, you run the risk of it not tasting like the tree that you got the fruit from to begin with. And that can be for better or for worse. But I think that is over-exaggerated, because I've heard and read of many people who have started trees from seed, and they got it to fruit, and it tasted just fine. Even if it tasted a little bit different, it still tasted fine, because we're not dealing with an annual vegetable. A lot of times, if you get hybrid seeds from just, you go to the hardware store and buy a seed packet, those are hybrid seeds. So you can save the seeds from those at the end of the season and plant them again, but it's going to be a little bit different than the plant that you originally planted, because those were hybrid seeds. It's not going to stay true to its genetics. Again, that's for better or for worse. I had a hybrid, I had a volunteer yellow pear tomato come up one time. I may have some videos of it up on here. And the tomatoes were a little bit, like the skin was a little bit tougher. They were a little bit of you could tell they were yellow pear tomatoes, but the shape was a little bit different. And the taste was not quite as, sweet as the yellow pear tomatoes normally are, but they were still good tomatoes. And it was actually a much hardier plant, because it grew where it wanted to grow, and we got quite a bit of tomatoes off of it. But it's a little bit different with fruit trees. But I wanted to give, and there are various other ways that you can grow a fruit tree and not have to go to the nursery and buy a grafted tree and spend a lot of money. I kind of think that's part of the reason why they always promote, oh, you've got to go buy a grafted tree if you want it to make fruit fast and you want it to taste good and all that stuff. They just want you to go buy their stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but I think that there is a certain element of that to it. But there are various ways you can get a fruit tree without having to go to the nursery and buy a grafted tree. But I'm not going to go over those in this video. I'm going to talk about 3 trees that you can grow from seed, and they will produce quickly, and the fruit will be good. The first tree is the fastest fruiting fruit tree that there is, and that is the papaya. You can literally go to the grocery store, buy a papaya, and plant the seeds and get them to germinate, and you will have a papaya tree. Now, you run the risk of having a papaya come up that is just a male tree and it will not produce fruit. But I watched a video David the Good did where he took just a whole handful of papaya seeds. In fact, I think he planted he had a papaya and he planted all the seeds from that papaya in a little mound, and then when they all started to come up, he just thinned it out like you would your vegetable seeds. And then I would say you'd keep 2 or 3 just to be sure that you get fruit in case you do get some that are just male. Papaya trees can be self-fertile, but they can also require having more than one tree. So it just depends on the genetics. If you grow 2 or 3 of them, you're more likely to not have that issue, regardless of if it comes up purely male or purely female. But papaya is one. It's the fastest fruiting tree. If you do it from seed, you can have fruit within a year. And that's not just me saying that. That is coming from things that I've read and things that I've heard from people who know what they're talking about. You can get papaya in a year from seed. The second fruit that produces quickly, it takes a little bit longer than papaya, but it can produce quickly, again, depending on how you care for the tree in the early stages, is star fruit. And I know this from experience. I have 2 star fruit trees that I planted from a seed, and I got fruit on those trees in 4 years. And I know people probably would still say, well, that's 4 years. I don't want to wait 4 years, But I'm talking, if you wanted to plant from seed, a star fruit tree is not a bad thing to plant, because if you take care of it, it will produce fruit within 4 years. I have 2 trees that did, and the fruit tastes just as good as the fruit that I planted the seed from. The third tree is the loquat tree, and it takes a little longer than the star fruit. However, again, depending on how you care for it, you can have fruit, I would say, within 5-6 years. So if you take care of it in its early years, you will have fruit early. And it tastes just like the fruit that came from the original tree. And again, I know this from experience. I have a loquat tree that I planted that is, I think it was about 5 years old, and it started to fruit. And now it's more of the just wild loquat that grows around here, but the fruit tastes exactly the same as any of the other fruit that you would get. And it started to fruit within, I think, about 5 years. But it was, I mulched it, I fertilized it, watered it. So if you do those things, trees are more likely to produce faster. They'll grow faster, they'll produce faster. But yeah, I just wanted to get on. I'm pretty sure I've got videos on here where I've talked about, it drives me nuts when people say, don't plant from fruit trees from seed. You can't do that. Yes, you can. And yes, it will make good fruit. And yes, you can get fruit fairly quickly. You don't have to wait 15 years. It all depends on how you take care of it. If you plant a tree and don't take care of it, then yeah, if it even survives, it's going to be a long time before it gives you fruit, because it's got no water, no nutrients, stuff like that. If you plant a tree and water it consistently, give it fertilizer on a good schedule, and just take care of the soil that it's in, that sort of thing, you'll be surprised at how fast you will get fruit and how it will taste. It may not taste exactly the same, but it will taste just as good as the fruit that you got it from. And the great thing about planting fruit trees from seed is you don't have to break the bank. You can go to the grocery store, depending on the fruit, buy a fruit, and then plant a seed. So basically you're paying for the fruit, you get to eat it, and then you get free seeds. So I see that as a win-win. So just a little thought. You can tell me what you think in the comments, and I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.